You're listening to The Bounding Box, where we talk about web development, geo development, and everything in between. On today's episode of The Bounding Box, we're going to be talking to an all-star ArcGIS Online team to get some insight into ArcGIS Online, kind of the way things work, and talk to some fun people. So enjoy. First off, let's just go around real quick and introduce you guys here. Let's start. So on my camera view, I got Russ, Paul, and Chris. Let's go start with Russ. Tell me what you do, Russ, who you are, what's your
I was hoping
problem.
we were gonna start like oldest to youngest or something like that, so we could just highlight some of our qualities.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I see Paul, but there's a little gray coming in the side there, Paul.
Oh, I'm all gray, buddy. I'm an old man. It's in the beard. It's in the hair. Even my chest hair is going gray.
So does that mean you're going first?
I'll go first,
All right.
I guess. Russ here speaking. If you are listening or watching, I'm a product engineer on the online team. I think I've been at Esri for like just over 10 years ish, rounding, and with working on a bunch of different teams, but on the online team, primarily focused on working with the new map viewer and a bunch of different features within that app. And then on the side as well, web styles, which could be 2D or 3D symbols, and then also your 3D layers like scene layers, multi-patches, all that kind of great stuff, elevation layers. So,
Nice.
yeah, that's some of the short, quick. What does Rust do?
All right, Paul, tell me what you do, man. What's your problem?
Well, I'm similar to Russ. I think I'm coming up on 10 years here. Russ and I actually started together back when Collector for ArcGIS was first released. So we used to both work on the apps team, but in the ArcGIS Online team, I work on a lot of things scattered all over the place. So anything to do with hosted feature services, hosted feature layer views, offline data synchronization, append. And then I also work on the map viewer with Russ and Chris. My focus in there is primarily on pop-ups and smart forms. And then on the side, I'm part of our arcade steering committee. So I help drive that language forward and figure out what we're going to build next there.
Nice. Awesome. Chris, give me a rundown, man.
So I guess it's looking like I might be the oldest. I've been at Esri, I think it's 17 years, but after 10 years, you kind of stop keeping count. The past 8 of those years have been in the web space. Prior to that, it was like a release and installation, enterprise deployment. And in that time on the website, helped out with just ArcGIS Online grow to be what it is today. And that's kind of been a jack of all trades in a lot of ways. And of lately, that's been helping out and coordinating and working on projects in map viewer. That's something really kind of bridges a lot of teams and a lot of different roles and stuff. So it's really kind of the focal point of a lot of work by a lot of teams.
Yeah, most of the time when I have like something weird going on online, they're like, "Oh, I bet you Chris knows, man." Like, that guy knows what's up with everybody.
I think it's safe to say Chris always knows what's going on.
What's that saying? If you live long enough, you kind of see everything.
Like Russ is usually like the first person I bug if I have like an online question. And Russ gets tired of my crap, and he's like, you should go ask Paul or email Chris or something like that. Like, I got things to do.
Really, when you say arcade, I'm just like, talk to Paul. Just as soon as I see that come across, just like,
Oh yeah, that I know. Like I go to
Blame
Christian
Paul.
for arcade questions right away, and like Christian's like, you know what? I think Paul would have a better handle on this thing in terms of what's going on online somewhere.
I don't know that I've ever had a better handle on things than Christian in my entire life, honestly. Every time Christian puts out a blog, I get jealous.
Yeah, man's a machine, I'm telling you. So, all right. So first off, let's go. What's new in online over the past year? Say since Dev Summit 2021. Like, what's happened in online since things? I know a lot of things have gone in past. Like, we have 4 releases. Well, yeah, 4 releases now since then.
Oof.
Oh wow! Like where is it? How much? And where do you want to start? I mean, it's like in Map Viewer alone, it's been new renderers like above and below. I think that was kind of introduced around a year ago now, and then continually enhancing all sorts of different things from uh, effects. You know, Russ, that was your area, and what else? I mean, just a million things, and that's in the Map Viewer alone.
Yeah, like new fonts in the map viewer, like some clustering enhancements there with like their pop-up and everything, and um, so much.
I mean, we got bloom, right? So lots of bloom happening in the map viewer
Oh
now.
yeah, the layer effects, which were like those like Photoshop like, artsy effects that you could apply. The initial release of that in September was the whole layer, and then we kind of introduced a way for you to author like an expression, and we called it feature effects. And so that way you could kind of like, yeah, like bloom features that meet this value, and then anything that doesn't meet this value, apply a grayscale to it. And so this is happening all on top of like what you've already rendered and styled your layer at. So it's pretty cool. And then blend modes are tossed in on top of that too and all work together. So
Nice. So I guess say that maybe we put. I think this past year was a ton of like visualization upgrades to the platform in general, right? Like an online, all these different ways you can do things, all the cool stuff that people were doing, like in desktop, and then maybe busting out Illustrator for their map gallery maps type of thing. You can get away with a lot of that online now, right? Like,
Yeah, and that's quite literally what all our cartographers say is like, hey, I used to do this in Adobe, and now I can do it in the web.
that's
And
awesome.
it really comes down to that.
I always
yeah.
trip on that. It's amazing the kind of stuff that we can do now. I mean, that's very, very cool.
And it's all like real time-ish, so it's not like you're applying these values and waiting for the page to refresh kind of thing. So
It's not
it's
like
very
a
interactive.
what was it, IMAP or whatever we said, ArcIMS
Yeah.
map images, pan the map,
Oh,
wait a
good
minute, and
old,
then
good
something
old
comes back.
IMS.
Oh man. So what
Yeah.
were the have we gotten like feedback on pain points of people moving from like classic to like new map viewer? Like what are the things that we've tried to focus on there for those guys?
Oh yeah, I guess I don't know. You could probably all of us could talk about this for quite a while. But it's a focus of what we talk about, and for good reason, because it really kind of tries to bring, all these really complex things that like Russ is talking about, and literally everything else, into a really easy user interface where it's kind of onboarding in a simple way while still providing kind of a progressive reveal of all the advanced tools you can easily dive into. Um, and as part of that, what we've really seen a lot of is like new users that come to the map viewer really kind of pick it up right away, but it's really a lot of the transition from existing users that use map viewer classic and wrapping their head around new ways to do things. And maybe it's a new way to do things that's better in the long run, but it still requires kind of unlearning and relearning, new ways to do things.
Yeah. Because I think right now the only like major thing I think we don't have a new map viewer at this point is maybe the analysis tools, right? And like I know that's being worked on right now. So
Yep.
they're coming eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we brought like that's one thing that I think we look at like as we're working at each release, it's just like where are we parity wise plus new features, and handling that balance of bringing in new things and new capabilities plus like bringing in the parity across the board kind of thing, which we get to, like you said, like analysis, that's one that users are asking and that's coming down the road soon.
Yeah. So all right. So other than what we've done, like that whole your dog's like going nuts back there in the background. He's like very upset. He can't get comfortable. Like Bo is just like,
This is what people see every day when they're in so it's like you're in real time with Russ in the meeting.
That's learned behavior from Russ, though.
That's how Russ is every time he's in a meeting. Like, damn it. Turn the camera off. And
Child or dog. I think also like one of the things about the bringing people over and across, we do have, because this has come up on GeoNet, a couple times this week. We do have a compatibility matrix in our documentation between classic and the new viewer. And then also your one and only checks GeoNet daily to see what are people's pain points and, raising it up to the table.
So that was a good point, because I get asked this sometimes, and like people like always wonder, like, do the devs, the people that actually work on this stuff, actually pay attention to GeoNet, or is it just like going through like someone else or something like that, right? And I think it's safe to say that a lot of the people that are working on things are on. Well, it's not GeoNet no more, right? It's the Esri community. They're on there. The people are watching this stuff. Pay attention to what's going on over there.
Yeah. We might not always respond at times, but we are watching and bringing up some of the posts and discussions and the ideas and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, there's like no guarantee that you can fix your issue right off the bat or respond, like you said, but paying attention for sure.
Yeah.
So if people ask about that, we can definitely say that. So is there anything I guess we can say about what's coming up in online that for say Dev Summit timeframe that wouldn't spoil Dev Summit in any way? I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but it might come out before Dev Summit, so I don't want to ruin too much there. But if there's anything we can throw out there that people can look forward to.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think like we just sent out the what's coming marketing blast or email blast for the upcoming release, and there's going to be stuff like a really big one and a critical parity feature is copying and saving to layer. That'll be in place for the next release, and that'll be a big one, knock off and really help a lot of folks move from classic. Because right now that's a deal breaker. You can't do it in map viewer, so it'll be really sweet to see that one.
I was just gonna say, someone
I guess
just
not
asked
for
me
Dev
that.
Summit.
Has somebody just asked you that, Renee?
They just asked me that. They wanted to. They were like, oh, why can't I save my layer from the damn app? Like, I can add it and save my web map. I want that layer. I need an item. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, people using it. It's great. It's I rightfully understand the frustration.
Yeah, sorry,
I don't know
Paul.
if I'm allowed to talk about any of my stuff. I'll Tom Holland it and like spoil too many things, so I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any big, really exciting ones for Dev Summit, like in my wheelhouse. But I will say we've been doing a ton of work to reimagine the arcade script editor, and that's not going to come out in March Dev Summit, but will come out later on this year. But I think that'll be a really exciting, huge step forward. We're building it like a modern web IDE, so it's going to have, IntelliSense, improved debugging, really nice syntax highlighting, formatting. So it's a really exciting project. It's been underway for a while. It's taken us a little bit longer to teach our IDE how to understand arcade, but it's getting towards the finish line.
So speaking of arcade, Paul, like arcades have been a big thing in our platform for a while, right? Like that's like a super powerful tool people can use. You want to talk a little bit about arcade, like what it is and why it's a important tool for our users?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've had the fortunate benefit, I think, of being on that project from the beginning, and it kind of started out with this kind of vision of like little like one line Excel like expressions to kind of just do like a little bit of data manipulation, and we've really seen it grow as kind of a cross-platform expression language to do just really sophisticated things, and the language has evolved over the past couple of years. You take an app like Dashboard, who you can use Arcade to define custom data sources, so you can pull multiple data sets together into join them on the fly and build this new data. And like we often say on the team, Arcade is a way to take existing data and make new data out of it, and that's really powerful, especially when you add in the spatial component and the spatial awareness that's built into the language. So it's been a really fun project to be a part of. It's nowhere near complete, and it's been really neat to see it get picked up in all of these different areas across ArcGIS Online. And then we put this out there because we think it's useful and we listen to users. But it's really, for me and the team, I think it's really exciting to hear that feedback come back in from users. And so we recently released arcade elements and pop-ups that allow you to use a single arcade expression to define a chart or a list of fields or dynamically build HTML in the pop-up. And it's been a long time since I've heard that much feedback from users using something that complicated and being successful. So it was really cool to see and cool for the team to get all these use cases back of really, really awesome success stories and doing really interesting things. And even internally, we've got teams that are doing making really sophisticated pop-ups all of a sudden. They're using Arcade to look at a data model and dynamically build calendars inside of HTML. And so it like for like garbage pickup, they'll look at the data, they'll highlight the current date, look at your next garbage pickup based on the zone you clicked in, and like really rich, engaging pop-ups. And it's super cool to see.
Oh man, that is nuts. I haven't seen that. That is very cool.
Yeah. And like the Living Atlas team, I think you'll see some over the next six to 12 months, probably some really really rich pop-ups get upgraded in their data sets too. I know they've been lashing onto that and looking at ways to improve their pop-ups. So
Oh, that's nice. Those are some folks I need to get a hold of too, because yeah, they do some really cool stuff on the Atlas that I think not a lot of our users, day-to-day users, actually may even know we have all that Living Atlas stuff, right? Like, it seems like it's very niche sometimes to people that get into it, but yeah, some awesome things out there. All right, so my next question here, because we do so many releases, we're on a quarterly release basis, right? What is the challenge of every release?
So, the challenges are kind of with a balance that kind of frame how often you will want to do a release. And, a lot of organizations do like continuous releases and stuff like that. We do quarter releases. So there's a significant build-up and process involved to get to a release that's starting earlier and earlier. So it's like 2 months out, you're already starting to do things like whether it's other teams of the company, messaging key stakeholders and things like that. But there's really just this huge productization over the last 2 months before a release, which means that it's not a lot of dev time. It's not a lot of time for a lot of things like that. So it's quite a buildup for a release. And so that's really the challenge is in a lot of capacities. And then also maintaining multiple projects and products that span releases. So it ends up being that you're tossing more on your plate through these buildups. So a lot of folks want to release less. A lot of folks want to release more. And everyone has their pros and cons on which way. And the challenges are the same, but maybe they shift around a little bit on which option we go with, or how.
Working midnight on the East Coast. That's Russ's vote. Builds character on the release week.
I mean, yeah, I guess for as long as I can remember, even before I joined Esri, it's always been quarter releases and stuff, which can be, like you said, man, it can be stressful trying to get that done on a regular schedule like that. Instead of, I've seen some people say, no, it's done when it's done, but I mean that doesn't really fly when you got customers waiting for things to come out and stuff like that, right? So.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's the hardest part, I think, is when something that you know is going to be really meaningful and useful to customers, and it just doesn't quite make it, and it's so close. But like it's a big, like, intertwined set of products and software, and it's like we've got to make hard lines and say, and like, if you don't have it done by then, it's not coming. It's next release, and I personally hate missing a release on a feature that I'm really passionate about, and the team is, and I know that customers are asking for it. So I hate waiting, and I hate missing a release.
Yeah, that's tough. Sorry. So I think this next one I have here, Paul said no one knows anything about webhooks, so I think we just go and we just say webhooks are something in the platform. I'll find someone that knows what a webhook is. We can figure it out.
My basic understanding of webhooks is basically like I imagine the car scenario, right? Like when you're like, it's like that old school sitcom, right? When you're driving somewheres and the kids are in the back seat and being like, they're just constantly asking, "Are you there yet? Are we there yet?" And like that's the old chatty way of like doing things, right? And like the webhook is like dad or mom turning around and saying, "I'll tell you when we're there," and then like everybody in the back seat like is quiet and they just wait to be told that like something's ready, right? Like that's my conceptual model of webhooks, but I don't know anything past that.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about this internally, and I this morning, Paul, or whenever I suggested maybe webhooks in this case, and uh, I forgot this is the case, and that webhooks are supported in enterprise for the sharing API, but in online they're only supported on hosted feature services.
That's right. I've seen that come up before. I mean, I don't know about parity or whatever, but I guess that's just the way it is, right? Like,
Yeah, I think in the enterprise case, you can do more within your own infrastructure to set up webhooks accordingly and things like that. And online, there's a lot more challenging pieces in a hosted environment for us to consider.
I think that goes the same like kind of like security type questions we get. Like, why can't I put my app on ArcGIS.com in my org or whatever? Like, well, we can't give you domain level access with your code to anything. We're sorry.
The amount of time, Paul knows this one. It's one of his babies. The amount of time we spend talking about which HTML tags should be supported in custom pop-ups and things like that. It's important.
Yeah, it's really a tough one to understand for customers, and I totally get it. Like I mean, every year at Dev Summit in UC, I've got somebody coming up to me and saying like, "Here's what I want to do," and I'm using it responsibly, and it's really hard to tell the user that like not everybody might use that responsibly.
Exactly.
And because of that,
you may not
we
know
can't
what that
allow it.
tag can do. Even though if you use it, you may not know what you're exposing out there, kind of a thing. And we've gotten bit by that in the API too. Like we do sanitization of the HTML tags and everything, and yeah, like people are like, well, why did you do that? Like, well, we're sorry, but we got certain things we gotta do.
Yeah, no question. And that's an area that we continue to try and expand on, though. Like we recognize that users want a lot more HTML options when it comes to pop-ups or items and things like that. And so we do have a lot of projects ongoing to look at additional tags that people have requested, as well as expanding some of our client-side CSS sanitization so that we can at least support CSS and inline styles in a richer way with less restrictions. So it's an area we definitely want to expand. But yeah, security in a hosted environment, like it's a little bit different in your own infrastructure where you know the rules and you can control the sandbox. But
Yeah.
in a broad cloud public facing infrastructure, we are accountable as a company, and we need to make sure that we're preventing bad actors from causing problems for our customers. And I get that sometimes that's a little frustrating, but it's still important.
You brought up like people can do with items and descriptions and stuff like that, and I have seen before I joined Esri, colleagues putting like JSON configurations into their descriptions of their web app items that get loaded into their apps and used and stuff for doing some pretty interesting things. So, I mean, there's things you can do if you really need to get something done for your scenario. You'll figure it out at some point or another. But like the stuff that we can't just say go willy nilly enough. But we'll get you somehow. Yeah. All right. So my other question I had here is talking about users and stuff, right? We have a whole suite of like experienced users, been using our stuff for years, decades even, right? So how do we help bridge the gap for those users versus like new users coming on board, students, stuff like that might want to use online? Like, how are we helping them out to get into it, right? To get started in online. You think there's anything specific we do there, or byproducts of stuff that we do?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's kind of there's initiatives on several levels, and that's first, from the development side, is to always be mindful of the onboarding for MapViewer itself, and we try to have like light touches, but that are still meaningful without getting intrusive in your way, and especially as you become more familiar with things, it has not a lot of helper guidance along the way. To help guide things like that is like we have a pretty broad outreach from our product management team, where they will reach out to a lot of users. They're constantly gathering a ton of feedback that we use to incorporate into our processes internally, and that includes really a lot of users that aren't familiar with the new map viewer, whether that's coming in from like an adoption perspective of the organization that use Classic and whether deal breakers, or if it's kind of new users that are coming on board and they want to use some of the latest capabilities that using the new map viewer affords them versus what was in Classic or the 3x API. So it really ends up being kind of a lot of these things that come together. And so, a lot of times whenever we get feedback that like you're not doing enough to make this kind of map viewer, not, a popular one is maybe not enough to make a simple map viewer. It's really kind of the synthesis of feedback that can really come to produce the, the experience we want.
Nice.
I think another area that's overlooked a lot in that space too is we've got a whole team that looks at our website Learn ArcGIS, which isn't like part of the core product, but it is super awesome in my opinion. It's really a whole website that's designed around learning by doing, and it takes different parts of ArcGIS and walks you through doing something meaningful through a practical example. And you can find just about anything there, whether you want to do like corridor analysis or figure out how to use Arcade to make a kick-ass pop-up. And it's a resource that I think is still people are discovering, but it's incredibly useful for both like beginners and experts to figure out how to kind of explore and discover new areas.
Yeah, and not to mention, actually, you really be remiss not to mention all the blogs. Every release has a dozen blogs that literally every workflow that's available in MapViewer or introduced, you can start from any point and walk through it along with a blog post.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I get those emails when they start leading up to it about, oh, you guys getting ready for your blogs, or whatever you've got, let us know.
There was like someone asked on GeoNet that I saw about the arcade and the chart element kind of question, I think earlier in the week. And I was like, hey, Paul, do you know like what about this? Like if there's a resource? He's like, actually I wrote a blog on that one when we released it out. And just like, boom, here you go, answered question. Like it's check out the blogs. There's a lot there. I know it's like a hose of information at times, but
But you really see that users do read them and use them just because we get emails about blogs 4, 5, or 6 years old that the link went down. There was some migration issue. And like, hey, where is this information at? I had a bookmark and I still look at it all the time.
Yeah, that's something. Well, it's good to know. Yeah, it makes sense. It's good to know that people are using it, they're reading it, and they keep it there for reference, right? I mean, that's what they're there for. That's awesome that they're using it. All right, Jen, so on to the important question here. What are your favorite games to play outside of work? Or during work? I'm not judging. I think I know Paul's answer, but I'll wait for some others. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if Paul's still playing it or not, so.
Are you talking about Diablo 3?
Exactly. I'm not sure if you're still on the Diablo 3 train.
No, I got my fix. I came back to it like a while ago and kind of binge played it. It honestly, like it's gonna sound a little lame, but I play whatever games my kids are playing that we can play together. So sometimes I guess the recent one we just bought was the Final Fantasy VII remake. So they've been going through that and playing the remake for the first time. It's a little different than the original, but it was still pretty nostalgic. So yeah, my kids they're pretty nerdy. They're kind of RPG style kids.
That's fun.
So
you need them to sit down with Jan and let him spin his web of Final Fantasy. Like I'm pretty sure he could. Yeah, he owns anything Final Fantasy related.
It was so bad because he played the first.
Everyone.
He played like the first version of the remake on the PS4, and then they released the upgraded version for PS5. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to play it again, but I'm gonna have to move it to the end of my list. I've got other stuff to play."
Yeah, and we did the Baldur's Gate 3 was like a D&D remake. It's still in early access, but the kids went through and played a bunch of the early access preview there, and we kind of all took turns. And yeah, I'm super flexible. Whatever they're playing, and we can play together, we try and play. So
very cool. Yeah, I'm not playing Diablo 3. I've got to stay away from Diablo 3. If I even just start the Diablo 3, it's over. Like I'm in there for like the first 3 days of just like grinding, and then like 2-3 hours a day after that, because yeah, I can't do it. I'm gonna get hooked and it's
Did
over at that point.
did you sign up for the new mobile one? What is it, Diablo Immortal?
I did, but I didn't get an invite or anything yet, so I'm waiting.
Oh,
So
I got the invite on the beta, and I couldn't get into it. It was just I don't know. It just felt different on the phone. I don't like gaming on the phone, so
I mean, if I have Diablo on my phone, then I'm not gonna do anything at that point.
they would never do another podcast.
Push notifications alone are gonna get me going. Like, oh, that's it, I'm done. So, Russ, Chris, you guys play games at all, or you just enjoy yourselves out in some other way?
I can say my like pandemic playing that I've done. So I feel like I was one of the few Stadia players that were around for a while.
Russ went hardcore, man. Russ was like, I am dedicated to Google on this one. They're going
Yeah,
all the
I
way.
went in, I jumped in, I came around. I had to, I've jumped ship, and now I'm giving Xbox's cloud gaming a spin now, and I'm going through the entire Gears of War series.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's like
Is that part of the Game Pass thing they have?
yeah, the Ultimate Game Pass
I'm so
thing.
tempted for that.
It actually like quality wise, it's great.
Oh man, I just might have to do that. I've been so now that Microsoft has acquired like every gaming company, I'm like everything's gonna be on there as Game Pass now. So I'm just like, I've been Sony hardcore for the past few releases of games, but man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to do it.
If I could get a PlayStation, you know, I would, but
What age are
I'm
you
waiting for my
question
Steam
to be?
Deck.
yeah.
Chris,
I
do you
just
play
changed.
games, or you just make pizza?
Who's that apply to, Russ or me? I just chase kids anymore. Like I used to be play DOTA pretty religiously, and I could tell you, like, talk nonstop about which hero and which build and who could get away with being a carry and who can't and stuff. And I miss it. And maybe one day, once kids are old enough to start resuming that, or my time or energy is back, but I miss it. So I live vicariously through what you guys are describing.
That's definitely a hardcore community for sure.
This is when Chris shows the tattoos that he has of like.
I never knew anybody like in real life that played DOTA. I mean, it's a big community or whatever else. Until Nathan on the Warlock team, he showed up with a DOTA champions jacket at work one day. I was like, yes.
Oh man. So you do pizza too, Chris? Are you a pizza connoisseur?
Yeah. Russ is like my pizza mentor guru. Like he's guided me through the pizza buying process. I got like the Pizza Q, like the cheaper pizza oven, like 6 or 7 years ago, and like have progressed now to got proud owner of a Gosney Dome.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I used my web tech skills to unravel how they were doing their little lottery system on their pre-release day and got to the front of the line and was able to snag one. But actually, everybody is able to snag one, but snag one that gets delivered.
That's nice. Wow. Yeah, I know Russ is always talking about pizza stuff. I'm like, damn it, Russ, you make me hungry, man. Like, it's just nuts.
I've done cooks about like once a week at least since we've got it. And it's been like August and stuff, and I still haven't gotten close to what Russ is able to accomplish. So like every time it's just like I want to throw down my peel and like damn it, and walk away.
I mean,
It comes with time.
if Russ would stop watching bad TV shows and just get to giving me some pizza advice, maybe I could get into pizza here.
I just need to keep hate watching shows.
I swear, every time I talk to Russ, it's like, oh, I'm watching Umbrella Academy. And then like a day later, oh, this is horrible. I'm gonna keep finishing. I'm not gonna stop.
Well, we were catching up on coffee today, or like the Map Viewer team, and like Russ was rattling off TV shows. Like I haven't heard of a single one that Russ was watching. Just like too old, I guess. But
I'm in that great range of kids of like one that's still a baby, and then like the toddler. So like there's like I still have some windows of like easy kid when I can watch a show, and then.
Oh, that's awesome.
mine just disappeared in the basement. The basement is their zone.
Well, I mean, heck, those are all the questions I had for you, gentlemen. If anybody's got anything they want to add, no, that's cool.
I don't know. I'm not that interested, Renee.
Yeah, well, before I stop this recording, just thank you, gentlemen, for being on for this first premiere edition of the Bounding Box. We'll get this out there as soon as I can. Thank you for listening to the Bounding Box today. Please subscribe for more content.